Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review. I'm here today to talk to you about Power Rangers Jungle Fury had the widest cast ever in Power Rangers history. There was an extreme lack of diversity in this season. Now, this is not a season rundown review. I will do that much later in time. I need to get my bearings on Jungle Fury first because I've only watched it twice in its entirety. And I want to get my bearings and everything just before I start, shooting from the hip and running off the mouth. And so, I was planning on making a video talking about how great diversity is in Power Rangers because they was ahead of their time. And so as I started thinking about that, I stopped and I thought about one season, Jungle Fury. And I'm just kind of like, that season had a lot of white folks in it. There was only two people of color. And one of them was the actual Power Ranger who was there in every episode. The other dude was like sporadic in the show. And I was just kind of like, how in the world did this happen? This is very, very awkward and uncanny. And not only does it lack diversity with like the race, but it lacks diversity in the nationality of it all. Because the only actors that are there are from Australia and also from New Zealand. Now, the dude who plays Theo, I'm not quite sure where he is from. If he's not from Australia or New Zealand, he might be from America or Canada, but I'm pretty sure he's not. And so, like, every person there is from, like, New Zealand or Australia. And ever since Power Rangers went over to Disney and went to later Nickelodeon and Hasbro and all that, well, I should say this, when they went over to New Zealand, every season of Power Rangers always had somebody from America or Canada, even if it was just like one little old person. But here it was just like the Australian and like the New Zealand cast, which is very odd. Because I remember in Ninja Steel when it started it all, there was only two dudes from, no, it was like one dude from America and the other dude, he was either from Canada or America. And every other season after that, some of the people you thought was from over there, but they wasn't. They were mostly just like Canadian, American, or mostly New Zealand and stuff. But I was very shocked. I don't know what the world went on in the casting of this. I don't know who the casting director is. I don't know how long they worked on Power Rangers. But this was a very weird and bizarre situation. Now, in terms of diversity, they have tons of females. That's great. This is probably one of those seasons that has the most females out of a Power Ranger season. But only one female is actually a Power Ranger. See, back in the good old days of Power Rangers and stuff, back in like the 90s and the Fox Kids, one of the great things about Power Rangers that people can all agree on is that it has a very diverse cast. It isn't great in numbers, but there was always some type of representation in there. Predominantly, the race is white in Power Rangers, in terms of even just background characters and the Rangers and recurring characters. But you always had that little sprinkle of diversity here and there. The very first season, the unaired pilot, they had a black guy and they had a Hispanic woman. She dropped out, and then they added an Asian actress. They also, I believe, JDF, I think he might be Native American. A lot of people think he's white, but he might actually be Native American or mixed with both because his brother was Native American. And then they made that whole episode with him being Native American and didn't know it. So I think he is Native American and probably white. And so that's huge. Like, you really, actually in the early 90s, you kind of saw that here and there in a couple of series. Like the Native American people were not much, but Power Rangers has always been just like diverse. In Zeo they had three Italian triplets. Yes, I know the triplets. I know what's been going on. Let's move on. Okay, I know. And so, like, in other seasons, like when you have, like, say, Turbo, the second half of Turbo, we had our very first, like, Asian Pink Ranger, because before then, the Pink Rangers were always white. When Catherine Sutherland came in, she was the first star in Power Rangers in the TV series to be from Australia and everything. Well, no, I take that back. Second season when they filmed over there. But you know what I mean, as a main cast member. But she was the first to be, like, Australian. Then you have, like, say, Lost Galaxy, and Serena, she played the very first, like, Italian, no, the very first female Italian Power Rangers. We had the triplets, who I think are Italian. They look Hispanic, but I think their last name sounds Italian. I'm just gonna assume they're Italian until I can figure out otherwise. And just like I said before in Power Rangers, you might not always know what a person's race is, but it's something different. And so, like, but every once in a while, you always have that one black person or that one Asian person or that one Italian person, you know what I'm saying? The only races I don't think they've ever had was like Pakistani, Afghanistan, like, Indian, something like that. I don't think they've ever had anybody like that, or Armenian. Um, but they've had everything from, like, Samoan to, now this is why I think this is how you pronounce it, Maori. I think that's like a race over there in, like, New Zealand, and it's a lot of, like, the brown skin type, like, people. You know what I'm saying, stuff like that. They have tons of those over there in Power Rangers because they filmed in New Zealand, and so, like, trying to think also who. There was somebody, like, I remember in Dino Charge they had, like, a Hispanic Red Ranger. They had a few of those. We had a few, like, black Red Rangers and stuff. And also, like, Rocky, he was Hispanic and stuff like that. So it's always been diverse in terms of race. Let's not forget RPM. We had two Asian people in that. That was, like, so cool. Like, you rarely see that. And I think maybe even Operation Overdrive, the Pink Ranger might be mixed with Asian and Hispanic. I think for sure she has Hispanic in her, but I think she's also mixed with Asian. I'm not 100% sure. And so you've always had that diversity, you know what I'm saying? But then you get on over to Jungle Fury, which I believe came out after Operation Overdrive. And something just went array. It was, like, so white. And yeah, because, like, the only people of color were two. Theo, the Blue Ranger, who was Asian, and Master Mao. What's his name? I forget. It's something M something. O or A or A or O. I can't remember that dude's name. I don't. Okay, here's the thing with me in Jungle Fear. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. I think it's all right. I think it's okay. It's pleasant. I can watch it. I can have a good time watching it. I like the woe is me's in it. I like the action in it. I like some of the plots that are going on with it. The villains had a really cool plot. But it's one of those seasons that's just there. Like, it reminds me of Wild Force. It's just there. It's super bright. It's super colorful. And it's just there. It doesn't really wow me. But they have some really good episodes and some really good drama and stuff. But it's just there. So I don't remember that original Pie Swab, like, Master Dude, who was, like, their mentor leader dude, before some shenanigans happened and stuff. I think, did he get killed? I can't remember. See, I only watched this twice. But anyways, they was out of a master. And I think the Master Dude, if he's not Samoan, he might be Maori. I don't think he's Pacific Islander, I don't think. But, that actor dude, man, I'm always happy when I see that man on screen ever since the Hercules and Xena days, boy. I'm telling you right here, right now. And so, like, and even, like, Tessa, who's in Dino Fury, she is technically Mari, but she's, playing a Hispanic character. Because a lot of them play Hispanic characters over there and stuff. And so it's kind of like, and oh, also we have the very first half Asian, half black Red Ranger, or we did. Now he's the Zenith Ranger in Dino Fury slash Cosmic Fury. And so, like I said, we always had that diversity. But in Jungle Fury, it was weird. We only had like the Asian dude and whatever the master dude was. And then what's so bizarre about this is not only was the entire cast white, but this was a very martial arts themed season. It wasn't like ninjas or samurai. I like to think of them more as like Shaolin master type. That's what I think of Pai Swa when I think of that. It was very Asian based. The temples, the clothes, the martial arts, and everybody was white. And it's like every master was white. So it's like, oh, the greatest martial arts in like the world and Power Rangers universe was white. The Jungle Masters were all white. The Spirit Rangers were all white. Shout out to the Spirit Rangers and everything. Those were some nice American made costumes. And yes, I am throwing shade to Cosmic Fury costumes. That's how you do an American Power Ranger costume now. And so, like, it was just always weird. Like, how are you going to have this big cultural Asian martial arts influence season, but every single last person who is like the greatest martial arts master of them all is white? Even the villains were white. And the villains were like, Pai Swa, like martial artist type people too, going on this big journey of self-discovery and everything. And they're not technically Power Rangers, but they're kind of Power Ranger-ish. They're kind of like a Shadow Ranger or like the Phantom Ranger or like a Night Ranger. They don't have a specific true Power Ranger costume, but they kind of are, you know what I'm saying? And, when I stop and I just like think of it all, even the ally, friend, even she is white. They could at least made her a person of color and everything. And what's even more bizarre is that when they threw in their additional ranger, their fifth ranger, the white ranger, he is another white person. And then when they had to go find a new martial arts master, who did they find? A hippie white dude. And I just think that lack of diversity really put it really put like a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. Like, 'cause it made you stop and think, well, what the heck is up with this? Like, you couldn't throw in not one person of color and stuff like that. And it really makes you wonder, was it done on purpose? Was it done by mistake? Like, it's somebody's fault. You know what I'm saying? And that really showed the lack of, they just did not care. Whoever made the casting decision, they truly just did not care. Did they have an agenda? Heck, who knows? I don't know who the person is and stuff. And, it's one of like it's like I said before, it's not a terrible season, but it is a stain on the franchise because it's not like a god awful season. It has some really good story arcs. It's just when you look at it, it makes you wonder, why were people of color left out? Like, why? Like, why were American Canadian stars left out? And, even though we've never had a Mari, character per se on Power Rangers, there have been tons of the actors there. And so it would be nice if there was actually a person playing a actual Mari character and be an actual Power Ranger. And, I like New Zealand and everything. I've always liked New Zealand since I was a kid with the Hercules and Xena show and everything. And I've always liked it when I got older. However, in the last couple of years, a lot of the celebrities have been exposing their own country. A couple of people who are white there and mostly people of color who are like, Mari or Samoan and stuff like that. They have let like people around the world know that. Also some of the Asian people, they have let people know that like New Zealand is pretty racist when, especially like, because I think the largest number of race there is white. Like they're like the largest population there, and so they're just like any European country or Canada or America. It's just like they have their racist side too. Not everybody there is racist, but they have their racist side there too, and so like. Cause like the dude, what's his name, Tiger Waititi or whatever his name is, he has exposed them. Um, a few of the actresses of color who have appeared in Power Rangers have exposed that country as well. These three Asian women from this show I watched that I talked about on Hulu, and they created like their own comedy show years ago, and they said the reason why they keep creating their own stuff is because they don't even see their own people on TV when they're in New Zealand. They are Asian. There are tons of Asian people in New Zealand, but their TVs are predominantly white, just like in America and Canada. So they have to create their own content. And that's jacked up, man, when you have to go the extra mile just to be on TV. So you got to create your own stuff. And so, like, I believe that's what really happened in the casting directing here. I believe somebody was just kind of like, okay, nobody wants to see a bunch of people of color. It's just like, bring in a bunch of like white people, blah, 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 stuff like that. It's a kid's show. Who's going to care? I care. Tons of people care. There are tons of people on the internet that cares and stuff like that. Because I was wondering, was I the only person who realized that? So I looked it up and on Reddit, boy, you got tons of people talking about it and everything. And clearly they realized their mistake because with RPM, it was very, very diverse and stuff. And diversity is always important. Inclusion of other races, cultures, sexuality, whatever, is always important because you gotta remember you're not the only people on the face of the planet. And people want to see themselves on TV and they just don't want to see themselves as stereotypes. I always felt that Theo should have been the Red Ranger. Yeah, he looks great in blue, but he should have been the Red Ranger. The Red Ranger had a great story arc. To tell you the truth, I don't even remember the Yellow and the Blue Ranger story arc at all. I remember a little bit of the purple, white, and red, and the villains, because I remember the White Ranger, he was kind of just like a goofball who was lazy. The Purple Ranger was like a hippie dude who wanted to go his own path from that his father, and then the Red Ranger, of course, he thought, oh, since I'm the Red Ranger and everything, I'm probably like the coolest person here. And he had the hardest time out of everybody, and he couldn't graduate to the next level like everybody else could. And he had to take in like extra training and this and that. And things were really difficult for him because he couldn't see the bigger picture and to be like, a jungle master and everything until he finally did. And now he's one of the greatest ones of all, and he's white. And, but I still really wish it could have been like Theo, because Theo, like, even though the Red Ranger had like a cool story arc, I just remember Theo a lot because he went all Bruce Lee with those like martial arts, like war cries and everything. I'm just like, no, he did not go all like Bruce Lee and everything. And I just wanted to like throw this out. I didn't, like I said, I didn't want to do like a rundown review or nothing like that. I just wanted to point it out because I do plan on making a video about why diversity is so great in Power Rangers. I can't imagine being a kid. Like, I'm an adult and I watched it. I couldn't imagine being a kid watching this show and being all like, hey, where everybody at? Oh, I see a bunch of white people. They're kind of like, well, what the world's going on here? And, it is disheartening to young kids and everything when you don't get to see yourself. And then when you do get to see yourself in the previous season, and then you go down to this season, you just kind of like, well, where everybody at? And then, like, even with Theo, they didn't, because he's the Blue Ranger, they didn't focus that much on him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't remember nothing about him other than him having a crush on, like, the Yellow Ranger and stuff. And that time he had like a clone version of himself or a twin, or he had something, but it was like two of them and stuff. And I'm just baffled. Like I'm like I can't even think of anything to say because I'm just baffled at the lack of diversity in this season. Because we've had such great diversity in the show. We had the very first female Blue Ranger in Ninja Storm, and then we had a blue and a yellow female Rangers in Mystic Force. You know, we've had like solo Power Ranger females in certain seasons, so they had like additional people. The thing about this season, you know, it started off with just three. You had three primary colors, then they started adding a few more and everything. And it's just weird that every person they added always had to be white. If they wasn't gonna make Casey Asian or make Theo the Red Ranger, they should have at least made like their I can't even think of his name, or not, the Purple Ranger dude. They could at least made him Asian, or the mentor dude that died. They could at least have him ghosted up a little bit more than what they did. You know what I'm saying? And I still couldn't believe that with like the three, I think they were three spirit masters that were like no longer here, I think. The female, the gorilla dude, and the antelope, the penguin lady, the antelope and like the gorilla dude. I couldn't believe that they was all white. And I'm just kind of like, are there no other great martial arts masters that are like Asian? There should have been more Asian people in this season. There really should have. And I just can't get over that. It really shows ignorance in the creative staff. Because I remember somebody just posted a picture lately of like the Power Rangers writing room. There's about 7 people there. And there are 2 females. Although one female, I didn't know she was a female at first. I looked a little bit close. I'm like, are those boobs? I'm like, oh, they are. That hairstyle, man, I'm telling you. And so, but guess what? They're all white. And the last person of color who used to write for Power Rangers, she gone now. And so it's like they're going backward. I don't know, to tell you the truth, when it comes to New Zealand, I don't know if they're going backwards in time because I don't watch a lot of New Zealand shows. It's like a rare thing because I'm in America. But some I have seen. I have seen a couple of shows, like mostly web shows. I saw one actual televised show. The televised show had people of color in it. And that also let me know that they are racist towards black people. I forgot to mention that when I said they was racist. I forgot to mention not only are they racist towards the Asian people, the Maori people, the Samoan people, the Pacific Islander people, but they also racist towards the blacks because they are black, so they just can't tell because they're mixed with other stuff. And even when black Americans go there, they are not treated that well sometimes. And so, like, I hope this never happens again because it's a shame. It might be filmed and produced over there at New Zealand, but it is still an American show. And I truly believe when somebody saw that, they're like, no, 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 no. Coming RPM, which was supposed to be the last season, you better diverse that cast up. And it was a pretty somewhat diverse cast. Had a lot of females in it. It had the black general dude. It had the black Red Ranger. It had like 2 Asian characters who were the additional Rangers. So they was getting pretty diverse and stuff like that over there. And still, the primary other ones are all white and everything. But, they had a whole bunch of females, and at least they had some sprinkles of other people of color. And I just can't believe it. And they worked in a pizza shop. You'd think you'll see at least one Italian person over there. And of course, I don't think there are no Italians in New Zealand, but they could have flown somebody on over there, Mufasa did not die for this. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.